All right, guys, I killed my brassica plot on purpose. Well, kind of. So the first time I killed it, I was doing it for research, was doing it for science. So I planted it way early. We'll get into that. I'm on some food plot groups, like, you planted that way too early, and I get it, I did. And so I killed a third of it off, replanted it, and then it never rained pretty much again. And then Mother Nature was gonna kill it, so I killed it with chemistry. And this is what we see today is a dead plot. And so we're gonna come in and rescue this. This is the plot that I ended up planting in early July. And so let's get into that. So in order to prep this plot, I sprayed it off in early June. There was a fall plot in this plot in 2023, so I killed the remnants of that in June of 2024. I then came in early July and prepared the seed bed with a rototiller before ultimately planting it on, I believe, the 2nd of July. And the reason I planted it on the 2nd of July is my first son was born on June 28th. I didn't know how much time I was going to get out on the farm and able to work on my food plots, and they were calling for 4 or 5 days of rain. And so I thought, hey, some early brassicas are better than no brassicas. And so I ended up planting that plot on July 2nd. Towards the end of July, the plot was looking fantastic, right? We had decent moisture, maybe a little thick. I'll take that argument, maybe a little thick, but good stand, good germination, good color, and ultimately looked pretty good. In early August, I noticed that the plants were not doing well. The moisture had more or less turned off. They probably needed some nitrogen, but ultimately was not looking good. In mid-August, I tried to rescue the brassica plots with weed control. I used clethodim to take care of the grass, and I actually came in with a string trimmer and chopped off some of the grass, but mostly common ragweed. Common ragweed had come up in the brassica plot pretty good, and I wanted to chop those off so that the brassicas could ultimately maybe take over with that nitrogen, smother those weeds out, and I would save the plot. That didn't happen. We stayed dry, we didn't get much rain, and the weeds ultimately took over the plot, and the brassica continued to die off, ultimately due to a lack of moisture. Came back in early September when I got back from a hunt. The plot was decimated, and I decided to go ahead, take action, take some Roundup, and ultimately spray off the plot as you see it today. So I've talked about the lack of moisture. We received 1 inch of rain on July 10th, and we followed that up on August 3rd with just under 1 inch of rain. It is now September 20th, and we've had some trace rainfalls since that August 3rd rain, but not really anything that would sustain a food plot. So it is now September 21st. There's some rain in the forecast, and eventually we are gonna rescue this plot. So with my early planted brassica plot, we learned a couple pretty interesting things. First and foremost, you must have moisture if you're going to succeed in a fall planting application, right? Doesn't matter what the temperature is, it doesn't matter when the season is. Now, when you plant will affect the ultimate maturity of that crop, but if you don't have moisture, you are going to fail in a fall food plotting situation. And we found that out. We had plenty of moisture in July, we established a crop, but then the faucet turned off, and it didn't matter when or what we planted, nothing was going to be successful. And so that is a strong argument to have diversity in your food plots. If you follow along on the channel, I have clover, I have soybeans, I have corn, I have brassicas, and ultimately I'm gonna have whatever this plot becomes, another diverse plot set. That'll do another thing with your whitetail management. Different points in the hunting season, those different food plots are going to attract deer at different stages. So now you're attracting deer 365, right? Some of that may be in February and March, yes, after season, but you're attracting deer throughout the season. If you just had a monotonous soybean food plot across your farm, you may attract those deer when those soybeans are valuable could be a 1 or 2 week period throughout the season, and then that's it. So they come, they're there on your farm hot and heavy for a week or two, and then they move on. Diversity is key in food plotting. So one other thing I learned about my early planting brassicas is I'm probably not gonna plant my brassicas in July anymore. I'm probably gonna wait till August, maybe even early September, but I want 3 to 5 days of strong rainfall prediction in the forecast. And I had it when I planted and replanted my plots in July and August, but it ended up not raining, and that's just what we deal with with Mother Nature. So my food plot failed. I'm a failure, this is a failure, but this is a great location and I don't want it to go to waste. So what are my options? Well, we're going to rescue this food plot with a cereal grain, either cereal rye, winter wheat. I'm actually going to use oats and a little bit of brassica because I had intended to rescue this plot earlier than it's going to be, but no rain in the forecast. So if you would like to figure out how to rescue a plot with a late September or even early October planting, please subscribe to my channel because as soon as I get done filming this, I'm going to film that. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and comment if you enjoyed this content. I hope that your fall food plots were not a failure like mine, but know that if you do not succeed with your fall food plots, there are still options for you to have high quality food plots going into the whitetail season. Thanks for watching, everybody.